Basketball season is here, and we could not be more excited. Welcome to the Mid-Major Show here on the Field of 68. I'm your point guard, Vince Wolfram, surrounded by some absolute playmakers, Rocco Miller and Sean Paul. Fellas, welcome.
What's going on, Vince? What's going on, Sean? Great to be on. So excited for this to get off the ground. A live show. We've been doing it now year four, right, Sean? I'm
Yeah,
fantastic. Feels like the first day of school today. How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing great. We're back. We finally have someone who can take some of the point guard duties off my plate because I was kind of turning it over into the stands a little bit at times. So I'm glad I can focus on shooting a little bit here.
Hey, every good team needs a point guard, right? And that's what we're going to do this college basketball season, covering all things mid-major. And before we get into what the people came here for, right, let's first talk about when and what we've got going. On this show, we'll cover all things mid-major programs. And I think the most commonly asked question is, are you going to cover this team? Are you going to cover this team? Well, we're going to cover all these teams outside of the WCC, the West Coast Conference, the Mountain West, the A10, and the AAC, the Atlantic, the American Athletic Conference. So we've got a great slate, a bunch of conferences, a bunch of teams that you'll be tuned into all year long, and we can't wait to get to breaking them down. And that's exactly what we're going to do here right from the jump. We're wasting no time today, guys. We're jumping in to reveal the top 25 teams in mid-major college basketball. Are we ready?
I'm ready.
I'm
Let's
pretty
do
ready.
it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's take a look at the first five at the bottom. We're going to go 25 to 21, and we're going to break down some as we go about it. All right, here, let's take a look. 25 coming in, we got the Drake Bulldogs. Then Kent State Golden flashes, one of the coolest mascots, in my opinion. They finished third in the MAC last year. The Arkansas State Red Wolves at 23. They were first in the Sun Belt last year, and I know, Rocco, you're a fan of this team coming into the year.
Yeah, I am. Well, I think the upside is crazy. So you got to rewind the clock, Vince, about to 2 years ago when they made a real investment to men's basketball by hiring Brian Hodgson, who had two well resourced, tremendous years. But that hire at the time was a major splash. He's been groomed to become a high major coach. Since he was, the right hand man for Nate Oates back at Buffalo and of course at Alabama, and now Arkansas State with Hodgson moving up to South Florida in the American Conference, where he'll continue to do well, made an incredible hire as well by hiring Ryan Pannone, a guy who's well traveled, one of the most interesting new head coaches anywhere in America, if not maybe the most interesting. He's coached in Asia, he's coached in all over Europe. He's won the Israeli championship as an assistant, and then he's been in the NBA in both the G League and pieces of the Pelicans organization, and finally joined Nate Oates' staff actually to kind of replace Hodgson at Alabama. So here we go again. But I think with Pannone, I mean, I've listened to him, and we haven't had the chance to talk directly at this point, but he might be a guy we have to bring on the show because he's also built a great roster. They have a couple Power Five transfers. Everybody's new, but Matt Heyman is a veteran out of Stephen F. Austin. He'll be a fifth-year player, can really shoot it. And I just think between the talent and the type of people and the up-and-coming grooming, and Pannone only being 40 years old, this team can really be lightning in a bottle this season.
Yeah, and whenever you're talking about global impact, you know the team's going to be strong, right? Let's take a look here at 22, Kennesaw State. They were fourth in the CUSA last year. The Owls looking to have another big year. And at 21, we've got Chattanooga, finished first in the Southern. Dan Earl, the head coach there, leading the Mocs at 21. Let's keep it moving, why don't we? Head to 20 through 16. 20, we're looking at the Ohio Bobcats, finished fourth in the MAC last year. An exciting year, looking to expand upon it this year. 19, McNeese State. New coach Bill Armstrong taking the helm after Will Wade, obviously, as we heard a lot this offseason, departed for NC State. Number 18, UNC Wilmington, the Seahawks, looking at another big year this year. 17, Vermont, the Catamounts, another great mascot. We're undefeated on the mascots so far in this breakdown. And then lastly, 16, We're looking at the Furman Paladins, 5th in the Southern last year. Head coach Bob Ritchie, excited for another year. And the transfer class there with freshman Cole Bowser from DeMatha High School, I think will be certainly a big one. Plus, if you look at that group, I think it's worth highlighting, right? We've got a field of 68 opening day marathon, and Furman's in it. So we've got some field of 68 representation in that 20 to 16 range on our top 25. Let's take a look here at 15 through 11. Let's keep it moving. This is when it starts to get more interesting, right, guys? 15, you're looking at Belmont, finished 4th in the MVC. Jack Smiley, the 3-star from La Lumiere High School in Indiana. That's going to be a big piece for them. Rocco, this is a team that you're also excited about coming in at 15, the Belmont Bruins.
Right, and it's a reoccurring theme you'll hear on today's show with the Missouri Valley Conference. Out of the 22 leagues that we will cover, of course, those top 9 we consider either high major or mid-major plus. This is true mid-major basketball, beginning with the Missouri Valley, the Conference USA, of course, right there with them. But I think with Belmont, you have to talk first about Tyler Lundblade and how ridiculous of a shooter he is, his numbers being 49% from deep. And again, he had to move up last year to 27 minutes per game. He's a little bit more of a unicorn before that. And I think this year, being more of the primary is the reason I'm really high on Belmont is that's going to attract Missouri Valley defenses and their non-conference opponent as well. And that's going to free a lot of other guys up. And they've got 5 other veteran returners and 3 other players who have upside that redshirted. Casey Alexander's an amazing head coach. This program, since they joined the Valley, has been waiting, knocking on the door, trying to move up. They finally cracked into the semifinals of Arch Madness last year. This is kind of the perfect timing to get to the Arch Madness championship game and maybe even win it this year. And Lundblade, whether he's making the shots or not, he's going to free other guys up, and that's a big offensive advantage there.
Yeah, certainly gives them a plus heading into the new year. A lot of new pieces, a lot of action to be watched this year on the hardwood. Let's keep it going. Let's move to 14. The Northern Iowa Panthers finished 3rd in the MVC last year. I like the trio of forwards they're bringing in. NAIA first-team All-American Tristan Smith, plus a pair of international forwards from North Carolina State and Baylor as well. Coming to 13, the St. Thomas Tommies. God, mascots, that might take it. The Tommies. 2nd in the Summit League, 5 newcomers, a 24-win season. They set the Division I program record in wins last year, Summit League wins, undefeated home record. A lot of bests last year for the Tommies. Plus, they add Austin Hero, the younger brother of Miami Heat star Tyler Hero, a big name going to St. Thomas. 12, we've got Murray State Racers. Murray State Racers finished 7th in the Missouri Valley. Tough league. Steve Fromm has this team fueled for a great year. 8 transfers coming in at Murray State.
We got Ryan Miller now, Vince. Ryan Miller takes over from Creighton, and they are heavily invested in this portal class that he brought in. Sorry to interrupt, but I just want to make sure we're clear on that.
I'm with you. I appreciate you, Rocco. That's what teams are for, right? We're point guard. We still need the other guys to play mate.
I got you.
Here we go. And then
but
at
nobody
11,
spent more in the portal than Murray State, so watch out.
Yep, former Louisville and DePaul forward J.J. Traynor, one of the top transfers heading to Murray State. Number 11, Miami, Ohio, sitting right behind Akron last year in the MAC at 2nd. They've got 5 new recruits. Almar Altalson, the transfer from Bradley, another big piece. So that rounds out 15 through 11, and I say we do it. Let's jump right into the top 10 here. Looking at 10th, we've got Akron. They finished first in the MAC. The Zips, can't beat that mascot name. Jumping into the top 10, a lot of excitement building on that program. Number 9, we've got Yale, Ivy League represented now. They won the Ivy League last year. John Pulakudis leaving hurts, I think, but they made it to the NCAA tournament last year, got bounced in the round of 64 by Texas A&M. Another promising year on the rise for Yale. 8, we've got Charleston, Chris Mack, the former Xavier and Louisville head coach under the helm there. They've got the 82nd ranked transfer class in the country. Christian Reeves, a big transfer from Clemson. And Sean, I know you've got more here on the Charleston Cougars.
Yeah, I think Charleston did a really good job in the transfer portal this year. Last year, they won 24 games, and it almost felt a little bit disappointing. But the fact that they bring in Christian Reeves, a guy who's 7'2", can defend the rim, which is something they didn't have last year with Ante Berzovic and Lazar Djokovic. They didn't really have that guy that can block shots and be a body down low. But I like what they did, adding Mr. Dean, one of the best athletes, if not the best pure athlete in college basketball. They had Jalen Counter from Middle Tennessee. They had Connor Hickman, who was at Cincinnati last year, and at Bradley before that, a big-time three-point shooting threat. But one name to really watch here is Martin Kalu. This is a guy I watched during the FIBA U19. He was really impressive for Germany. He is a really big-time athlete, 6'6", good body, great rebounder, and I think he can play a really key small ball four role for this team. And Colby Duggan, another guy transferred from Campbell, he is going to be a really good offensive threat for this Charleston team next to Christian Reeves at the 4 or the 3.
And Rocco, I'll go to you with the number 7 ranked team, Towson. You've got more on them.
Yeah, we got some competition here in the CAA at the top for sure. And I think with Tyler Tejada coming back, with him being a conference player of the year level player, not hitting the portal or at least deciding to return to the Tigers is crazy, amazing in this day and age. With Dylan Williamson, his backcourt mate, elite shooter, 44% from deep, back as well. Combined with the portal additions of Schmidt from Valpo and Doumbia from Wright State, both grad transfers, this is an old Towson team that went 16-2 in this CAA last year. Obviously, a bittersweet end of the season, getting nipped and not playing very well in the conference tournament. They're going to be hungry, and I think the thing that I really love the most about Pat Skerry's program is how successful they are in close games. We're going to talk about 22 leagues throughout this year, and one of the main common denominators between all 22 and in the higher levels is how do you win on the margins? What do you do when the game's close, 5 minutes to go? Who's going to get the loose ball? Who's going to close out games? Who can make free throws? Who's your go-to guy? Well, Towson clearly has 2 of them, and it shows in the data from the end of last year. They went 8-0 in conference games that were decided by either 5 points or less or went to overtime. Hard to find a more clutch team down the stretch than this. You're going to need to blow out the Tigers this year if you plan to beat them.
Clutch gene in full effect. Number 6, we've got Bradley, but I think I'm too excited to go into any more on them. I want to see these top 5. Let's take a look here. Number 5, UC Santa Barbara. Sean, this is a team you're super, super excited about heading into 2025.
Yeah, I've been hurt by them a little bit the last couple of seasons. I've been a little bit too high on them, but they had clear issues in terms of turnovers. They turned the ball over a ton. They were outside the top 300 in turnover rate the last 2 seasons, but they did a good job in the portal, adding 2 really good high major guards, one being Miro Little from Utah and one being Aiden Mahaney from UConn. Look, I know Mahaney's time at UConn did not go as planned, but there's a lot of pressure there playing for the back-to-back national champions. He had to go in and he had to play a big role, and it just didn't work out, especially on the defensive end, but he still shot 35% from 3. We're talking about a guy who averaged 13.9 points per game and 14 points per game in 2 seasons at St. Mary's on elite shooting clips from deep. That's going to be one of the best, if not the best, guard duo at this level. Then you add in Hosanna Katinje from Louisiana, big body down low, Colin Smith at the 4, Jason Fontenette, who is a good Swiss Army knife at the 3, and freshman CJ Shaw is someone I've heard really rave reviews about. If he's able to be that next piece off the bench for them, they could be even more dangerous.
100%. And Sean, coming in at 4, High Point, who we'll hear from head coach in just a second. Tell me a little bit about this team and why you had him at 4.
I mean, the Panthers made the NCAA tournament last season. This is a whole new look team. Keza Jiffa, Justin Bodo, Kamani Hamilton, Bobby Pettiford, all gone, their top 4 scorers from last season. But Flynn Clayman, he did a terrific job joining us in a minute here. But you added Rob Martin from SEMO. That's a guard that I think would have been the best guard on last year's team. Cam Fletcher coming over from the transfer portal, Xavier, Florida State, and Kentucky. This is a former top 100 guy, but he's been good when healthy. If he's healthy, he could be one of the best players in this league. And the same goes for Owen Aquino from Liberty, the transfer. He's going to be a nice piece down low next to Cam Fletcher.
One of the best environments of all of college basketball, and I'm sure we'll hear more about that in just 1 second. Let's take a look at the top 3. Illinois State at number 3. The Redbirds finished 5th in the MVC. Landon Moore, the transfer from Butler, a big name, plus 3 3-star recruits. Number 2, we've got UC Irvine, the Anteaters. The winningest coach in UCI history, Russell Turner. They finished 32-7 last year, 2nd in the Big West. 1 seed in the NIT. They ended up losing to Chattanooga, who was ranked in our top 25 in the NIT title. And number 1, Liberty won the Conference USA regular season and tournament championship last year with head coach Richie McKay, who we will hear from more in just a little bit. Now, fellas, just quick before we get to coach here, overall thoughts on the top 25. What did you guys agree on? What were the conversations like putting this poll together, and what did you guys like most?
Well, yeah, Vince, I think it fascinates me just how many great options there are. You know, I do a top 60 every week, and I've basically built that. That'll be out on my personal Twitter in the next couple of weeks. Look for that. But it's even hard for me to decide on teams 61 through 80, let alone the top 25. There's so many upside stories. You try to figure out who's investing, who's not, who can coach, who can't, who plays defense, who can't. Those are the things I really value. Obviously, you want that upside potential as well, like we hinted at with Murray State. I mean, that's one of several teams out there with just so many unknowns, but so much upside. Santa Barbara included, that Sean just talked about. Ada Mahaney, of course, compensated well to get back into the West Coast and be part of the Big West. Has to have a big chip on his shoulder after being more of a reserve role at the UConn level. There's just so many of those stories. It trickles all the way down to lower levels. I look at like these D2 success stories as well, which have been just a huge theme over the last couple of years. You know, what Queens has been able to do as a D2 to D1. You look at the staff that Denver hired, like they're not going to be in the top 25 yet, but they brought like 4 players with them. That's what Cal Poly did last year. That's what Cal State Northridge did 2 years ago. And these are the programs that are moving the needle in college basketball. And those are the staffs that now high majors are looking to maybe bring up. So there's just so many great stories, so many things to look at, and it's hard to differentiate teams. But some of those areas I valued there in the beginning is where I look first.
Yeah, I think you just have to find the right mix between what you value between returning players. Like you look at Illinois State, they get a lot back. You look at talent via the transfer portal, what you think's going to translate. And I think coaching plays a really big role in a lot of these preseason rankings. You're going to trust the John Beckers of the world at Vermont to get things on the right track. And if they have a talented roster, then we're really good from that standpoint. But like High Point's a team I had ranked a little bit higher than Rocco. So I guess that'll be an interesting thing to follow throughout the season. So.
Certainly. And as we move along in this show, we're going to hear a lot more about High Point as we go, right? One of the teams that is in our preseason rankings, a team we're awfully high about, and a team who has a new man under center, a new guy as the head coach of High Point. We're going to talk to Coach Flynn Clayman here, the head coach of High Point. High Point. Coach, welcome. First of all, we're excited to have you and excited to hear about all things High Point. I know it's been a busy time for you ever since you've gotten the head job out there in North Carolina, and it's been 160 days since you were named head coach. I'm sure it's been a whirlwind. How have you settled in to sitting in the head coach's chair?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you guys for the coverage you do. This is detailed coverage that's really important in this day and age with the turnover on all these rosters. A lot of the coverage of mid-major teams is just really hit or miss, and you guys give the fans a real good inside scoop on what's coming up. I've settled in fine. I mean, this is a great place to be. So, I've got the support. There's alignment from the president, Cubain, to our athletic director, Dan Hauser, on down. And with that alignment at a school like this, we're able to get things done and feel like we're in about as good of a place as we can be with what we lost. We lost a great head coach. We lost 4 all-conference players. We lost the defensive player of the year. We lost the newcomer of the year. We lost the MVP of the conference tournament. So we lost a ton, but we're really excited about our new pieces, and we're looking forward to this season.
Yeah, Coach, good to see you again. And I have to ask you this question because you've been in this seat before when you were at Southern Utah. You were the interim coach briefly during the CBI when Todd Simon left for Bowling Green. So kind of a 2-part question here. When Alan Huss officially left for Creighton, was there a little bit of added anxiety because you've been through that and you didn't get the job, or did you know this time this was the one? And second part to that is, when Alan Huss told everybody that he's going to go be an assistant, the head coach in waiting at Creighton, was that like a shock to you, or did you kind of maybe have an idea of something like that happening? Was it out of the blue? Kind of how did that go?
The rumors were out there. There was no secrets or anything. There, you have X and you have people talking, so it's not like nobody talked about it. What I can say about that is, Coach Huss was approached by numerous people over the last 2 years because of the job he did. I mean, we went 56-15, and he just did a phenomenal job. And he loved High Point, and I don't think he was leaving High Point for any other place than home, which is Creighton for him. That is home. He played there. He's played an NCAA tournament there. He's obviously coached them and been an associate head coach in the Elite Eight. And that was just the one situation that pulled him, but it wasn't easy for him. And then, sorry, what was your first question?
When you had the same situation to some extent at Southern Utah, was there a little bit of added anxiety this time, knowing how you didn't get selected the first time?
I think as I've grown in this business and just grown as an adult, like I just try to focus on doing the best I can. The Southern Utah deal was great. I mean, I was very young at the time. I probably thought I was ready at that time. I mean, we did a good job there, but looking at everything I know now and everything I've learned under Coach Huss, after learning everything I learned under Coach Simon for 6 years, I'm a lot more ready for this position. I wouldn't say anxiety other than, there's uncertainty but I knew I'd land on my feet, but I was just, when I got the opportunity, it was unbelievable. So couldn't be happier.
Hey, Coach, it's Rocco Miller. Thanks for joining. Awesome to have you here today. We had Alan Huss last year in our first episode, so this is a natural fit, and we're obviously excited to have you on opening day as well as part of the Field of 68 opening day festivities. I wanted to talk to you real quick about the roster. It's just, what's it like to be able to have the resources at this level to be able to bring in, first of all, Conrad Martinez from Arizona is just a guy I've been waiting there to be able to crack. Now he's at High Point. I'm imagining he'll have a bigger role with you. Singare from UConn, and then you add like proven commodities with Scotty Washington, a guy I know really well out west from Northridge, big time role player out here, and we know Owen Okino, just a crazy good defender and rebounder from Liberty, and the list goes on. I mean, I know you've got other pieces that may be even starting over a couple of those guys, but what's it like to just be able to have the resources and build this type of roster at this level?
Look, I'm not gonna lie. It's a great place to coach. I mean, I've been in situations where it's not as easy to build a quality roster. I'm not going to be that guy that sits up here and takes all the credit like I'm some amazing recruiter. I mean, I evaluate. I think I'm good at putting a team together, but what this university has done, the alignment, like I said, has allowed for us to get a really competitive level of players. Some of these players whom we beat A-10s, Mountain West, Big 12, ACC directly in the portal for. And I'm just appreciative of that. Our roster is deep. We don't have that continuity, and continuity is huge. And we had that last year, and that goes further than talent sometimes. But you hit the head on some. Basically, what we got is some proven commodities, guys from mid majors who were borderline all conference or were all conference, who just had great analytics, great stats, and then we also have a mix of a couple high major guys who didn't get the opportunity. Now, I would say Cam Fletcher is an X factor piece. That's a guy who was a starter at the high major level. He was averaging about 11 and 8, 12 games into the season before he got hurt. Xavier did a tremendous job with giving him basically a year to recover. He played a little bit in games, but the deal they had with him was that he wasn't going to play a ton and he was going to get healthy. He is healthy now. That's a legitimate high major starter, and he's in a great place mentally. He's mature. He's gone through some ups and downs in his career. And this thing is a lot of times about what time of the career you get the player. That's really the most important. Are you getting them at the right time? I think we've got Cam Fletcher at the right time. I think Yusuf Sungari we've got at the right time. He continues to impress me. I see why he went to that level. I see why he was a 4-star prospect. He's skilled. He can catch the ball. He can pass the ball. He can dunk. He can dribble. He can do a lot of things. Conrad, we're very excited about. I mean, if that's a kid that I don't think is talked about enough. He only had about 70 possessions plus assists last year, but in those 70 possessions plus assists, he was number 1 in the country on synergy at about 1.75 points per possession. He's a great player. He's a great defender. We have great positional size. We have versatility. Like Terry Anderson was a guy who was coming off an injury last year. He had a knee surgery in the summer, but he was an all-conference player at Lamar before he came here. And when you look at Terry Anderson, Yusuf Singari, Owen Aquino, and Cam Fletcher. That is some length, that's some athleticism. And then at the guard position, Rob Martin, great offensive player. Conrad, great offensive player. Vince Brady, great offensive player. But they are also great defenders. So I'm hoping that we have a chance to take a leap on the defensive end and while continuing to be a great offense.
You kind of
do they all
hinted
get
at it a
along?
little bit. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, quick question on that. Do they all get along so far? I know they're all older, so hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I mean, these
Half
are
the
great
battle, right?
kids.
Do they like each other? Yeah.
They get along. And I tried to, every guy I recruited in the portal, I tried to see something on film or something in their personality that told me they were about the team. Because you can get really caught up in stats. You can get really caught up in those things when you're looking in the portal. But there's a certain player out there these days who is smart enough to say, okay, I'm going to try to chase these stats. I don't care about my team because they care about some financial gain. I try to see through that. I think every player we brought in plays hard on the defensive end. That's a selfless thing. They are good passers. Most of our guys were rated nationally in assist rate. You know, Babacar Diallo, we didn't even talk about. He was top 40 in the country in assist rate and was also an all-defensive player in the Summit League. So those were character traits that I tried to look for in our transfers, and because of that, they're getting along pretty well.
Yeah, my last question here. You talked about the defense a little bit, but how does your philosophy in coaching from an X's and O standpoint differentiate from what Coach Huss did? Because you were on his staff, but you're a different person, so I'm sure there are some differences there.
I would say on the offensive end, there's really not many differences at all. We kind of hit it off on what we wanted to do offensively. I learned a ton from him. He let me bring a ton of ideas also. I kind of felt like I was learning secondhand from Coach McDermott, you know, all the stuff he was teaching me that they do at Creighton. And then we also had a very good offense at SUU, so I brought a lot of those concepts over. On the defensive end, we really picked it up second half of the season last year. I would say our first year and a half, we were subpar defensively. But once we got to conference, we changed a few things. We forced a few more turnovers. We were a little more aggressive, and we had the best defense in the Big South and in Big South only games by far. What we don't have this year is Bodo. I mean, Yusuf is similar, but he's not the same kind of massive, you know, person who just moves people around like Bodo, who could sit and drop coverage. So we're going to try a few different things. Like I talked about earlier, we have great on-ball defenders and we have great athletes who can move. So it'll look a little different on the defensive end. Expect probably a few more turnovers forced, probably even playing a little faster offensively because Bodo, you know, was a special type of player where we couldn't necessarily play as fast as you would at like Creighton. So we're going to pick up the pace probably a little bit offensively and defensively and be more aggressive defensively.
Coach, I heard your campus is often referred to as the Disney of universities. I heard you've got the second annual block party coming up, and if they think Disney on Ice is good, wait till they see this. That's just a couple weeks away down there at High Point. But Coach, we just want to thank you for joining the show before we head to break. That was a lot of fun, and we're excited for High Point Hoops this year. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Back
Appreciate the recognition. Thank you.
Absolutely, Coach. It's great to hear you. I'm sure we'll talk soon. Let's head to break, and we'll come back with more mid-major hoops.
As you know by now, we have teamed up with BetMGM again this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we will have special offers for Field of 68 fans, including same-game parlays, best-in-class live betting, and daily odds boost. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. You download the BetMGM app, you sign up using bonus code FIELD, you deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD when you sign up. Make this college basketball season one for the history books. Make it legendary. And don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. There is no sport in America that is more difficult to follow than college basketball. It can be overwhelming. That's where the Field of 68 Daily comes into play. The Daily is your go-to source for injury updates, recruiting news, and transfer portal additions that actually matter. For just $50 a year, get access to the same information that your favorite team's coaching staff is subscribed for. Quality content can be hard to find in the college basketball space. The Daily is here to help you with that. Do you need your fix of college basketball analysis at the end of every night during the season? If you crave instant reactions and informed breakdowns, make sure you tune into the Field of 68 After Dark every night with access to the biggest stars in the sport and a cast of characters that includes the likes of Tyler Hansborough, Randolph Childress, John Fanta, John Henson, Terrence Oglesby, Jarrell McNeil, and many, many more. The Field of 68 After Dark is where college basketball happens.
Welcome back to the Mid-Major Show. We're breaking down our top 25 mid-major teams heading into the 2025 season. Let's do some more breakdown here, guys, because this list, a comprehensive one, right? We've worked on it all summer long, and there's one conference that stood out, the Missouri Valley Conference. A lot of teams in our top 25. Sean, I want to start with you. Who are some Missouri Valley teams that leading up to this offseason kind of caught your eye, and which do you have your eye on this ranking that could be successful heading into this next basketball season?
We have 6 of them ranked inside this top 25, so some heavy Missouri Valley Conference representation going on here. It's usually a really good conference, and usually there's a team kind of battling for a top 25 spot. I don't know that we have that this season, but the overall depth of the league and what's probably going to be a one-bid league is pretty good. Illinois State, obviously, they're going to get a lot of attention because they get Chase Walker back. He is going to be one of the best players in mid-major basketball, and he easily could have transferred to the high-major level if he wanted to, but instead he decides to run it back. Johnny Kinziger is a really good guard. He's going to have a good season. Jack Doherty, an elite shooter from the outside, 6'8". He's going to be a really good piece for them. If they're able to ramp it up a little bit defensively, they are going to be the favorite in this league, but that's a bit of a problem for them. They did struggle on that end quite a bit last season. Then you have Northern Iowa. They have a really good coach in Ben Jacobson, of course. They get a lot of pieces back. I think they'll be in the mix, of course, too. Drake, people might be surprised to see them here. They come in 25th in our poll, but Eric Henderson was about as good of a hire as they could have done. He was great at South Dakota State, and he brings Owen Larson over with him from South Dakota State. He was really good there, and he brought over 2 other guards that I really like, Jay-Sean Thomas from Charlotte and Jalen Quinn from Loyola Chicago, 2 guys that should pair very nicely with Owen Larson, especially Thomas with his scoring ability. He was a big-time scorer at the JUCO level a few years ago. Isaiah Carr down low to protect the rim. He was great at Denver at doing that. But Murray State is kind of the team I look at here. The money they spent, like Rocco talked about earlier, a lot of money going into this program. Another Greg McDermott understudy in Ryan Miller, the brother of former NBA star Mike Miller. The fact that they were able to get some of the pieces that they got Fred King, they got Mason Miller, both transfers from Creighton, and they were able to get a guy like KJ Tenner, who I think is going to be a great guard coming over from West Virginia. Lane Taylor had a really good season in the ASUN as a freshman. This Murray State team, again, kind of like High Point, they don't have much, if anything. I don't think Murray State has any returnees, but they have so much top to bottom talent that if it all clicks, they are going to be extremely hard to beat. So they're a team to really look at that could catch people's eyes, especially once we get towards conference play.
Rocco, I want to go to you on this next one. What's a team from that Missouri Valley Conference that you think might surprise some people?
Well, listen, we got 6 ranked. I think that's the right number so far, and I agree with Sean on Drake that with the combination of where that program is now after the great 8 years of Darian DeVries and obviously what McCollum did last year, they're at such a high floor as a program, and with Henderson just having such a great track record over at South Dakota State, this is a even bigger job for him now and a great league to be in. So I feel very safe with them around that 25, but obviously the trajectory goes straight up as more of a solid footing program. I think Southern Illinois might be the team to watch in general. They've upgraded their roster. They're not in our rankings yet. They're in my low 30s. So I do think the Salukis could play their way into the top 5, currently in that 7 spot pretty solidly. But I do think, when you look at the entire league, I'm higher on Northern Iowa than Sean. I had them number 3 in my poll. Sean didn't have them at all. So I think that maybe
No.
is the more polarizing team of the bunch. But I just think with Bond back and a lot of great glue back at Northern Iowa, I might have seen them on their very best night of the season last year when Lewis Bond had 37 and they beat Montana by about 40. But I just think with so much of
there, yeah.
Yeah, I was courtside for that. So I know Northern Iowa's got a tough program with Ben Jacobson. They're super excited about this team coming back. Some of the opponents I work on with them on scheduling all have them in their top 75. So I felt like it was responsible of me to put them in that range. But yeah, that's a great mystery because there's been years before where we didn't expect much from Northern Iowa and they get to the top 3. There's been other leagues where Sean and I have worked together on it, had them in the top 5, and they finished middle of the pack. So it just shows it's more about how good the league is. Going back to SIU, like Charles Nagy's in year 2, the defense is going to be tough. He's got some quality players, and they're deeper than last year. So I expect to see the Salukis taking a jump as well.
And again, it's kind of like a case study. Oh, sorry. And again, it's kind of like a case study of what's more important: returning players, transfers. They're a good example of that.
And that's the exact point I was going to hit on, because I think it's hard now, maybe more than ever, to rank teams, to especially teams you haven't seen with guys that haven't played there before. There's a lot of roster turnover, a lot of roster loss. How did you guys work through this top 25 and in analyzing these teams and what they lost, how to rank them, and maybe what they've gained and what their future holds as well? I'll start with Rocco.
Yeah, well, I think you got to go team by team. It's not a one size fits all answer. That's the way I look at it. I evaluate everybody for what they are, and then you have to at some point start comparing team by team and build a stacking order and strike a balance. Now, I think with our top team, Liberty, it might be the easiest thing to do. They're returning a lot. They rocked last year. They were the clear best team in Conference USA, both regular season and postseason, and they've got so much back they could be better than last year. So a pretty safe number 1, and I think that's why Sean and I were 100% aligned on the Flames. Don't forget, by the way, first weekend of the season, Field of 68 tip-off will be at Liberty, including Florida Atlantic and Charleston in that event. But yeah, so that's an easy one, right? But then you have more like the Northern Iowa. I look at the Miami, Ohio one gets a little confusing for me too, because in both scheduling and with Miami, Ohio having a great year and bringing back 66% plus of their scoring, they project to be a good team. Throughout scheduling this offseason, everybody looks at the Torvik model because it's easy to look at. You can pull it up when you're on a call. Not many other models come out till later, like we're still waiting on Ken Palm's model, for example. It's just one easy way to kind of settle an argument, right? And so Miami, Ohio is ranked very high on there, and they should be in the top 10 based on that. But I'm also looking at it like the MAC was probably the worst overall MAC. And I love the MAC, don't get me wrong, but that was probably the worst overall MAC I've seen top to bottom in 20 years. And some of that might have to do with more money going to football. I would love to see that league rebound right away this year. We actually have 4 teams in our top 25. We'll see what that looks like in a few months after non-conference play. But yeah, like that's a harder team to evaluate than Liberty. Then you take your Arkansas State, Murray State examples, even Drake, that have basically brand new teams. And you have to hedge a little bit on where you think they're going, what their philosophy looks like, how what do they have defensively? Can they rebound? Can they rim protect? And that's where the opinions I think get a lot more different.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of tough to balance some of this. You look at the returning minutes and who some of those teams are. You look at Furman, they're on that list, but look at who they lost. It was Nick Anderson, it was PJ Smith, the two starting guards for that team who both shot really well from 3 last season. They get a lot back, especially on the defensive end with Cooper Bowser as that anchor down low, but they don't have those 2 guards that carried a very slow-paced team that shot a ton of threes deep into the SoCon tournament. But you look at Liberty, on the other hand, they returned 3 of their best players and Isaiah Enan, who was hurt last year for a big chunk of the year. Like Yale, kind of the same deal. John Poulikitis and Bez Mbang gone, but they get a lot of their interior back with Samson Allenton. They get Casey Simmons, Isaac Seliscar, all those guys back. It's just a tough balancing act between deciding what matters more to you. Is it the top end talent? Is it the overall continuity? Is it the adding the transfers? I'm probably a little bit lower than Rocco on some of these teams that that return a lot but maybe don't return their best players, because at some point I'm kind of like, what's the upside here? And I kind of try to find the upside plays, and some of the transfer teams that get a lot of guys kind of burned me in the past, but I haven't really changed my philosophy there. But I'm usually more higher on the teams with more top-end talent and continuity, which probably might not always be the best plan, but I'm more of a talent-first kind of guy.
There's no better person to break down the list with, especially the people atop the list, the Liberty team. We got head coach Richie McKay up here next on the Field of 68 Mid-Major Show. We'll be right back after this break.
The college basketball season will begin right here on the Field of 68. At 8 a.m. on November 3rd, we will be tipping off the inaugural Field of 68 opening day marathon. 15 hours of nonstop basketball. It will begin in Rock Hill, presented by our friends at Visit York County. Plan your itinerary today at visityorkcounty.com. Winthrop will face off with Queens in the opener, followed by Bradley taking on St. Bonaventure. Then we head out to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where it'll be presented by Sanford Sports, who is changing the way people play and making sports accessible and fun for all. Murray State gets Omaha at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, with Drake taking on Northern Arizona in the second game in Sioux Falls. Then it's back to Rock Hill for a showdown between Furman and High Point, with Merrimack taking on South Dakota State in Sioux Falls in the nightcap. Tickets for all 6 games are on sale now at the links in the description below. Field of 68 opening day.
Athlete AI is the story of the athlete. And every athlete deserves to have the story told. Under the lights and in the spotlight. This is your moment, your rule. Download, capture, create, share. Athlete AI. Your name is Trent.
Would you be surprised to find out that the Field of 68 is home to more than 35 podcasts? More than 25 team-specific podcasts that are hosted by the people that know what fans want the most. The Goodman and Humble podcast, the DTF podcast, the A10 Insider podcast, and the Mountain West podcast. But wait, there's even more. The Field of 68 will be launching the ACC Insider podcast this year. Subscribe to this channel and come along for the ride.
Welcome back to the Field of 68 Mid-Major Show. We have a very, very special guest joining us from Liberty, his 13th season as the head coach there. Welcome to the show, head coach Richie McKay.
Vince, thank you. Rocco, Sean, how you guys doing?
Doing
Fantastic.
fantastic.
Much better now.
Yeah. How deep are you into the podcast? Is this hour number, have you finished the first hour?
We're a 1 hour show, so we got you here at minute 40, but
Okay.
we're doing quick hitters. I think we've talked about 45 teams already. So
Hey.
now we're here, blessed to be with number one, Rich.
Nah, yeah. Thank you for that bullseye. But I'm certainly not surprised that you guys are whipping out. Your coverage of mid-major basketball has been monumental. All of us mids, we follow it, and we feel like you guys do a great job of covering maybe some of the invisible programs on the national level. So thank you for your efforts, fellas.
Coach, we're full speed ahead, and I know in coaching there's really no time for a pause button. How has this offseason treated you? Did you get a vacation in? Were you able to reflect on last season? Sort of paint the picture on what this offseason looked like for you.
Yeah, I'm not the best traveler, and I ended up, Coach Bennett, Tony Bennett and I, we had committed to a clinic in Greece where we were going to take a couple of days after the clinic, and we did take a couple of days in Mykonos, which was phenomenal. But I was there for 2 days and then went to Abu Dhabi for the EuroLeague Final Four, which was fantastic. That, if you guys haven't been, it's a bucket list. Went to go see one of our former players at UVA, Devin Hall, and their team ended up winning it. And then came home, did practice, little recruiting, and I went to the U18s in Belgrade, Serbia. So I went to 3 foreign countries, which is 3 more than I've done the last 15 years. And so a little travel weary, but it was really productive and enjoyable.
Is that going to crank up the Liberty recruiting internationally, you think? Or what kind of impact can you make from those trips?
Yeah, dang, I shouldn't have said anything, Rocco, because I knew you'd ask something like that. Let's just say, it's such a
Keep me up.
different space over there. Like most of them have had agents for years, and now that the money is different in the states, and like those agents know what they're doing. Like they will negotiate at a really high level, and I think it's like anything else. You just got to figure out like, well, who's a fit for our program and our university, and what is the criteria in which these student athletes or prospective student athletes would choose a program. Like if it's always going to be about money, that like ours isn't the place. But I do think there's a pool that most of us at the mid-level will try and access. That we'll see how it shakes out with the rev share stuff and what the salary limitations are. But I do think you got to be fairly creative in the way you construct your roster in this given climate.
Well, what I really wanted to ask Richie to start was, what's up with all the disrespect for Conference USA? Can you tell everybody where you guys ranked in overall conference strength last year?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on which metric. We were either 8th or 9th, and I'm telling you guys, and I'm not saying this trying to be the guy that self promotes, but man, our league not only had some unbelievable players, but there's some great coaches in our league. Like Ray Harper's won 1,000 games or close to. My man's old school. He really does a great job. And Jason Hooten at NMSU, Nick McDevitt, he's a terrific coach. I tell you, you guys know Antoine Petway. He's done an unbelievable job in, again, succeeding Amir, who's like rest his soul, like one of my favorite people of all time. And that's just a few of them. Like Chris Mudge, Ballard at FIU, Joe Golding, Hank, Tevin Hester. Like it's a really, really good league. And we added this year 2 other programs that are going to be really tough to deal with, Delaware and Missouri State. And you guys know how good a Coach Conzo is, and Martin Inglesby, he's terrific. So I do think we mire in a little bit of relative obscurity. Maybe it's because of the changes in league universities and how frequent that's occurred. But when you talk about competitive balance and you go on the road to New Mexico State or UTEP, like not only is it exhaustive from a travel standpoint, but you got to deal with home court advantages and really talented, well-coached teams. So I do think Conference USA is way underrated. And I don't, again, I'm not trying to say that for a hidden agenda. I just, like having coached in this league for 2 years, I know how good it is.
So my first question to you, I'm not trying to age you at all, but you're 60 now. Is there something seeing like Tony Bennett retire, seeing some of these old school coaches, obviously Bennett because you guys coach together, you guys are friends, but seeing some of these coaches probably head towards an earlier exit than they would have if it wasn't for NIL in the portal? Does that make you think, hey, that golf course is looking kind of nice out there, I want to go out there a little bit more, or are you in for the long haul here?
Sean, you may not have tried, but you just did age me, bro. Like, thank you. Yeah, like I still love doing this, and I love doing it where I get to do it. Man, Liberty it's a fabulous place, guys. If you've never been here, like, please come visit. We have unbelievable aesthetics on our campus. This place is immaculate. The modern, they spent $1 billion worth of construction over the last 10 years on our campus. But the best thing about Liberty are the people. And I just like, what's hard in this day and age, because, the money's so gargantuan at these high major levels, the rev share and the percentages that men's basketball program gets. Like it's tough to like, what if you really enjoy a place and you want to stay there and try and make that as competitive as it can be. Like that's the lane I'm in. I love it here. I don't feel my age, and I think because of the locker room we have and the guys that we get a chance to do life with, like, A, they keep me young, but B, I love being around them. And I heard Flynn talk about the alignment that he has at High Point. I think it's every coach's desire, I'll even say dream or aspiration, to have that vertical alignment with your president. And our president is fabulous, Dr. Donnie Costin, best I've ever seen. and then our athletic director is one of the best in the business, Ian McCall. So they've been really supportive of our program. We are not an ATM machine like people sometimes brand us, but I do think there's an authenticity in the experience you can have here that can keep you here for a while.
Yeah, Coach. So I guess what most of the audience is probably curious, we saw Liberty, as hard as Conference USA was, which obviously we're tracking here at our level week in and week out, you were able to get to the mountaintop both in the regular season and win the postseason tournament. So what's next for the program? Is it a run to the second weekend of the NCAAs? Is it to just keep the consistent model of winning and maybe get invited to a larger conference one day? What's the overall bar? Like, what's the next level to raise the bar? What motivates everybody around there?
Yeah, great question, Rocco. We try not to define our program success on how many wins we have or how far we advance. We really are in the whole person development. And I think for me, the charge is, man, I want our guys to lead better equipped to be husbands, fathers, friends, sons in their sphere of influence. And I think because of that, like there's a genuine joy or gratitude for being at this university. That being said, like we're really competitive. And man, we got to the tournament last year in Oregon, boat races. It was a tough night. They were terrific that night, as most Dana Altman teams, especially in the postseason, are. So there was a level of disappointment that we all had, and I think you could kind of feel that in the spring and the summer. Our desire is to get back there, but we know how hard it is. Liberty's on a fast track. Our upward trajectory, success of our other programs, especially football, although they're maybe off to a slow start. They've got a great staff and a great team. I do think like if we were afforded the opportunity, that might be in the vision of our administration. I can't speak to that. That's higher than my pay grade. That being said, though, like guys, Conference USA was as good as some of the conferences that you're not ranking this year, if not better. So I don't think just a move for men's basketball is going to make us more competitive or on a bigger stage. I think where we are is pretty good, and if we're here for the duration, I think that's great.
Now, Coach, tell us a little bit about your team. I know a lot of transfers coming in with J.J. Harper, with Ryan Jones Jr., who was a guy who chose Virginia Tech over the eventual national champion Florida last year and was redshirted throughout the year. Tell us about how the summer has gone with your new group.
Yeah, well, we the year before we were more active in the portal out of necessity. It was our first year in Conference USA, and we felt like we had a bunch of different holes and needed a little bit more experience, so we went older. This year, with Colin Porter, Caden Matheny, Zach Cleveland back, Isaiah Enan, who I think you guys mentioned earlier, he was injured last year after game 10 or 11, and man, he was playing great. So his return to play is projected at the beginning of the season, which we'd be really excited about. We had another kid sit out, Josh Smith, who transferred from Stetson and rehab from another injury, and he's looked really good this spring and this summer. But J.J. Harper came from West Liberty, terrifically well coached program. I love him. You guys, we didn't know exactly what we were getting until we saw him this spring. He is terrific. He's going to fight for some minutes. Excuse me. And then RJ, he's terrifically talented. He's still learning our system, but another great addition. And then we have a couple of freshmen, 3 of them actually, that I think have a chance to get in that lineup. And Brett Decker returns from last year, and he finished really well.
So, Coach, I got to ask, we talk internally often, at least when we're in the heart of the season. How do these Conference USA road trips go? Do you have a staff member or a guy on the team that's coming back from last year that just keeps everybody loose all the time, like just the fun person that – because you got to go to Las Cruces, New Mexico, El Paso, Ruston, Louisiana. Now this year you're going to Springfield, Missouri. So you've got to be able to keep it loose. Can you tell us about those interdynamics that we don't get to see?
Yeah, last year it was my son Gabriel, who's now a GA for Coach Pope and the Kentucky Wildcats. And I wish I had him back because he kept it light. Whether we were on the plane, in the hotel, on the bus, on the way to the game or practice, he kept it light. But our group they like to have fun, and I think again for us, what might be a huge intent of ours is to stay connected. So we try and not let those moments that could easily discourage you. We try not to let that infect our room, and keep enjoying and celebrating the opportunity that we get to be together. We don't have to be together, but those are some long road trips, Rocco. If you ever want to come, let me know. We'll give you a full access pass, you, Sean, or Vince. And then you'll see what I'm talking about when you got to go to some of these venues and travel what seems like a day and a half to get there and a day and a half to get back.
I will
Yep,
definitely
I
sign
think all
up.
of us would take
Let's
you up
do
on that.
Yeah,
We could record on the road trip. There we go.
yeah. There you go.
There you go. Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining us today. We love talking about your number 1 ranked Liberty Flames. We're excited for another season, and we can't wait to see what you guys do this year. We appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, guys, I love Field of 68, and honestly honored to be number 1. And given who voted and who made that or contributed that poll, it means all the more. So appreciate all you guys do. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
And
Yeah,
we
go on.
mentioned at the beginning of the show, right? This feels like the first day of the school year. That energy is here. The college basketball juices are back and they're flowing. But comes with picture day and a new school year comes a yearbook, right? And everybody's yearbook, they have superlatives. So let's go into some early preseason superlatives for this mid-major college basketball season, especially looking at our rankings. I'm going to start with a question. What team did you guys have higher than the consensus believe that they should be, right? Sean, I'll start with you on this. What team did you think maybe will outdo that of what the consensus has them listed at right now?
I was definitely a little bit higher than Rocco on Vermont. I believe he had them a little bit lower there. And Vermont's a team I like a lot. And again, I talked about how I respect certain coaches when it comes to this. And I've kind of contradicted myself a little bit with not having Northern Iowa ranked at all because Ben Jacobson's a great coach. But Vermont last year was just such a weird year for them. They were 304th in offensive efficiency on KenPom. And that's just so unlike everything that program is. But they dealt with injuries. TJ Long was hurt. Shamir Bogues got hurt later in the season. That team just really wasn't built to be a good offensive team. They were built to be a good defensive team with Larry Iofalier, who's gone, and with Sam Alamutu transferred to Wright State. This year, they're going to be really good on the offensive end. TJ Long's healthy. TJ Hurley's back, and he is a big-time shooter. And then you get Gus Yalden, a former top 100 recruit, started at Wisconsin, went to Seton Hall last year, and now he could be like a solid post option who can score, he can pass it. And then Lucas Murray, he's an international recruit. He could be their point guard, 6'5", long, really good passer. If he's able to set those shooters up and they can really benefit from that, this Vermont team will be back in the top 100 conversation nationally where they belong. I think they can easily be a top 5 team in this poll by the end of the season.
Man, I think
what about on the lower side here, Rocco? What do you think? Lower on the consensus and on our polls. What do you think? What team you got?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned High Point to a certain degree. I mean, Sean had them, I think, 2nd, and I had them 8th, so nothing crazy. They're obviously extremely talented and could easily move their way up to number 1 at some point this year, or maybe even early this year. I'm not going to belabor that too much. I'm a tad lower on UC Santa Barbara. Mainly that's because what Sean already mentioned, just trying to reestablish being at the top of the Big West. The Big West is a different animal than when they were the dominant team with McLaughlin a few years back. Now you've got a lot of depth in the Mountain West. And that leads me to my next point. Sorry, not the Mountain West, the Big West. We love the Big West. And my next point is Hawaii. That's a team we haven't even seen on the top 25. They didn't even make the conference tournament last year, but they heavily invested in the portal themselves. They were in my top 25, didn't make the cut overall. But they got a great break late in August with Jaitis Namiksa getting his kind of improbable waiver approved. Nobody, I think, in the spring expected that. So now they have their leading scorer back, plus all the players they invested in the portal. Hawaii's extremely dangerous. UC San Diego's really close to being ranked. So that league, I think I'm higher on overall. I think we'll have more than 2 teams from that league in our poll soon. And lastly, I would just say Radford. Radford's a team I do have ranked. I think it's one of the most just the biggest unicorn story maybe. Because they hire Zach Chu, a little bit of a controversial hire at the time. I think he's going to be the youngest head coach in college basketball, but he was the director of strategy, comes from the NBA, comes from directing strategy at SMU in the ACC level. His roster building was superb, and obviously Radford committed way more resources than we've seen in previous cycles. But getting Dennis Parker from NC State, who's a previous 4-star recruit, Brendan Rigsby, a regular player from the Big Ten at Minnesota, Mari Jordan from Tulane, and the list goes on. They have 7 guys, and I think they're all really good fits on paper. We'll see if they can get along, but that could be a team that really challenges High Point in the Big South Conference.
Sean, on the other side of that, what's a team that you think, like Rocco mentioned with Hawaii, maybe that didn't make the cut in your top 25?
There's 2 that really stand out to me that I considered didn't ultimately get there, and they're both teams who return a lot. So kind of to that point again, Portland State being one of them. The Big Sky in general, they lost a lot as a league, especially at the top of Northern Colorado, losing some of their best players, and Montana lost some pieces. But Portland State, they get back Trayvon Minot, the defensive player of the year in the Big Sky. They also get back 2 of their other better players in Terry Miller and Jalen Henderson, while adding a very important shooter in Bryson Long from Arizona State. They're right in the mix. And then Harvard, who has not had a lot of success recently, the days of them being really good with Bryce Aiken, Seth Towns, which feels like a decade ago, is kind of gone. But I think Tommy Amaker has a good squad on his hands this year, and they will be really good defensively with Chandler Pige, with Thomas Batiste III, and then you have Robert Hinton, who should be one of the best players in the Ivy League this season. Austin Hunt, another guy as a sophomore that could take a bit of a leap. If they're able to be a little bit more consistent on the offensive end and Hinton takes that next step, they can challenge Yale to win the Ivy League.
For the mid-major fan out there watching right now, you've got your top 25 from the 2 best analysts in mid-major college basketball. This has been a fantastic episode. 2 great coaches coming on talking ball, and we got the analysts breaking it down as well. Rocco, Sean, this has been the first premiere episode of a new season of the Mid-Major Show. Alongside Rocco and Sean, my name is Vince Wolfram. We'll see you guys next Thursday for another installment of the same.